Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is U.S. Immigration Attorney Hardam Tripathi from Trip Law. Today I'm going to discuss with you a very important issue that I've been seeing a lot of my clients face. Basically, this is when you're here on a visitor visa, you're here on a B1, B2 visa, and you're facing a time crunch. Your visa is about to expire, you are a visitor here in these great United States of America, and you ultimately want to end up either extending or renewing that B1, B2 visitor visa, or while you're doing that, you are suddenly someone who's from a treaty-based nation with an E2 visa application that you want to basically file with the government. So what do you do in that regard when you're already a B1, B2 visa holder, you're here in the United States, you're basically going through the process of figuring out your business, finding that American agent, basically getting your EIN number and all that basically taken care of. But at the same time, what are you doing to ultimately see how you can extend your status here in the US, or whether weighing the factor of whether you want to go back to the home country and then apply through consular processing. So we're going to talk about that today. So let's jump right in. We have a lot of clients who are B1, B2 visa holders. They come here from various countries like Mexico or other treaty-based countries that also are applying with E2s, and they're applying for that basically E2 visa while they have their B1, B2 active. So they run into some issues. They basically have family members who are maybe children that are unmarried and under the age of 21, and they're studying in another school, or maybe you might have a situation where the wife or the husband, that spouse is basically working overseas and they have to go back and forth within the country. And how do they end up not compromising their E2 derivative immigrant beneficiary status? So what we've normally seen in these kind of situations is that there's a time crunch and they want to go back and forth within the countries, but the principal applicant wants to stay here. So if this is you, if you're someone who is interested in applying for an E2 visa, and you come from that E2 treaty nation, but you already have a B1, B2 visitor visa, and you're trying to figure out how can I either extend or renew my stay, or how can I basically apply for the E2 visa while I'm trying to keep my B1, B2 active, this is the video for you. So basically how that works is you kind of have to look at all the various factors involved with your case. So there's a difference, right? There's a difference between legal status when applying for an E2 versus actually having the E2 visa. And the difference is if you're already in the US and you're applying for a visa, for the E2 visa through USCIS via just maintaining legal status, you're doing an adjustment from that visitor visa to the E2. However, it's different if you're actually overseas and you're trying to come into the US and you're applying through the embassy in your treaty country at the country you're at, maybe UK or Canada or Mexico or whatever country is your home country that is an E2 country. Then what you would do is you'd go to that embassy and you do your interview there, and there's a whole process. Each embassy is very different when it comes to E2 visas. But what if you're already here in the United States and you already have your B1, B2? Well, there's this really good thing called premium processing. So in 15 days, if you pay an extra $2,500 to the US government and you give them that money, they will process your case in 15 days. That means that ultimately once you have that B1, B2, you're basically adjusting it over to legal status to maintain that E2 status. And while you do that, that'll happen in 15 days, as long as there's no RFE, a request for evidence. So our law firm would help you with that. And what we would do is instead of doing like an I-539 or something where you're extending the B1, B2, the strategy would be to ultimately file that E2 visa to maintain legal status here in the US and let that application process. The biggest problem, however, we see with this is what if your business is not fully ready and operational? Well, that could pose some ethical issues. You definitely want to make sure that you're not lying to the government. You want to be very transparent and be ethical and upfront and act in good faith. So when you're doing these kind of applications, you want to make sure you have all the proper evidence, the evidentiary documents, you have all your operating accounts in order, you have all your biographical data, everything ready to go. The showing the source of funds moving from out of country to in country. There's a lot of things that we will hash out for you when we do that. But the biggest thing is making sure that yes, you're being transparent, but also buying you a little bit of time, because the biggest thing is it is going to take the government a lot of time if you elect not to do premium processing, which actually helps your case in a way because it gives you time to then work with that company or that franchise or that commercial enterprise and ultimately start building that company up and basically making sure that you have all your ducks in a row before you actually physically apply or interview for that opportunity. So these are the various legal issues that you're going to face. The way to actually do it is to make sure that you have as much done ahead of time. There's something called contractual provisions where you may already have contracts in place where money, substantial investment has already been spent or is going to be spent, but you already have a contract backing it up. So the money is already at risk and you're actually actively taking part in the enterprise. You're just trying to get some of the loose ends figured out. Maybe it could be zoning issues within your state. Maybe it could be issues with contracts with other vendors or things of that nature. But that's what we as your business immigration lawyers would help you with. And we have a wonderful team of SEC lawyers that you can speak with, also business consultants as well, along with franchise advisors and business plan writers. And all these people work together with us immigration attorneys and our team here at Trip Law to make sure that you're complying with not only the rules and regulations of the Immigration Nationality Act and USCIS and the U.S. State Department, but also SEC and your state local laws, and ultimately making sure your business is going to be compliant and you're complying with that franchise. So there's a lot of things at play. Here at our law firm, we pride ourselves to making sure that we help you navigate that complex regulatory system along with all the various business issues that could come up, because it's very important that you don't compromise your B1, B2 status. We never want you to overstay your visa because it will look really bad later on. So it's very important that you do depart the country and not risk overstaying if that means that you have to do that. But at the same time, find legal strategies and ways to stay in the country with that B1, B2 visa to then adjust over to legal status with an E2 here with USCIS. If that's not going to work, then we always recommend also maybe going overseas and going it through the consular processing side. So that way, if you do decide to leave the country and you want to maintain the legal status, but you decide to leave, then you have to go back and apply anyways at the embassy. So why not do that in the beginning if you already are in a time crunch? So these are things we would talk about with you in your consultation. So if you are a business owner in your country and you are someone who is of means and is able to afford to put a substantial investment in a commercial enterprise, but you also have a B1, B2 visa active, give us a call. We'll talk about all the strategies that you may have, and we can help you navigate that complex immigration system to help you, ultimately you and your family and your business thrive here in these great United States of America. So thank you so much. We hope you found this high-level video a little bit helpful, but there are a lot of nitty-gritty things that need to be discussed, and it's very fact-specific to each individual person, each individual business, and each individual person from a specific country. And so there's a lot of moving parts. So if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Hardam Tripathi from Trip Law, and we wish you the best of luck with your E2 journey while you try to extend that B1, B2 or adjust it over to that E2 visa. Thank you so much, and God bless.